John Miller rubbed his tired eyes and approached the monitor. Something wasn't right with the stars tonight. After 8 years working security at the Pine Ridge Observatory in Montana, he had learned enough to know when readings seemed strange. "Hey, Dr. Winters, you might want to see this," John shouted, his voice echoing through the empty control room. Alice Winters appeared from her office with a mug of coffee in her hand. She had planned to finish some paperwork before heading home, but the concern in John's voice caught her attention. "What is it?" she asked, setting down the mug and putting on her glasses. "These star patterns are moving wrong." Alice leaned over his shoulder and looked at the screen. His face changed from tired annoyance to focused alarm within seconds. "That's not possible," she whispered, moving past him to enter commands into the system. New images appeared, confirming what John had noticed. "The stars are not moving. Another thing is." She rushed to her main workstation and accessed additional feeds from the telescope. Whatever was happening, it was happening all over the night sky. John called Director Powell. Now, around the world, other observatories were noticing the same phenomenon. In Japan, Chile, South Africa, and dozens of other locations, astronomers watched with increasing fear as countless objects moved against the backdrop of stars. They were too organized to be meteors and too numerous to be satellites. As scientists on Earth struggled to understand what they were seeing, a very different scene unfolded on the other side of the galaxy. The Galactic Council chamber was huge. A vast dome, with seats for representatives of more than 300 advanced civilizations, had at its center a three-dimensional projection system, showing real-time updates from across the known universe. At this moment, this system showed multiple fleet movements converging on a single point in space, a point that made several council members stand up in alarm. Counselor Zextera, her blue skin glowing with bioluminescent patterns that showed her agitation, stepped forward. As a representative of the Ardenians, one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, his voice carried weight. "I call for an emergency session," she announced, her translator converting her harmonic speech into common galactic pattern. Unauthorized fleet movements were detected in Protected Sector 7. The chamber immediately went silent. Protected sectors were rare. The areas of space in which civilizations developed were not disturbed until they achieved interstellar travel on their own. The High Counselor, a tall and thin being, with 4 arms and gray skin, had a serious nod. "Emergency session granted. View target." The holographic image magnified a small blue planet circling an ordinary yellow star. "Earth," someone whispered, "a Class 5 developing world." Many of the representatives exchanged worried glances. Earth has been under special protection status for the last millennium. Any contact with its inhabitants was strictly prohibited by municipal law. Who would dare violate such fundamental protection? Demanded the representative of Proxima Centauri, his feathered crest rising in anger. From the human section, a recently added small area with just 2 seats, Ambassador Kevin Harper stood. Accidentally discovered during humanity's first mission into deep space 5 years ago, Harper was chosen to represent Earth while the Council decided how to handle this unexpected first contact. "What is happening to my planet?" he asked, his voice cutting through the growing noise of the chamber. Unlike the other representatives, he had no employees or advisors. Just himself, trying to represent a world that didn't even know the Council existed. The High Counselor turned to him. "It appears, Ambassador Harper, that someone is launching a major operation toward Earth. Based on fleet signatures, these are not observation ships. These are warships." The chamber erupted in shock and outrage. "Who would dare attack Earth?" demanded Ambassador Harper. "And why?" The director of Galactic Intelligence, a crystalline entity called Lumina, floated forward. Patterns of light flickered across its surface as it connected to the central database. "Preliminary analysis completed," Lumina announced. "The fleet's signature matches the vessels of the Draconian Empire." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. "Impossible," Counselor Zextera whispered. "The Draconians have been extinct for more than 3 centuries." The council chamber descended into chaos. Representatives from hundreds of worlds shouted at each other. Some demanded an immediate military response. Others called for investigative teams. And some suggested abandoning Earth to its fate. Ambassador Kevin Harper was left alone. His fists clenched as he watched alien diplomats argue over the survival of their home world. Earth wasn't even a voting member of this council. He had no real power here. Silence. The High Counselor's voice echoed through the chamber, amplified by the room's perfect acoustics. We will proceed with the order. The room fell silent, although the tension remained thick in the air. Director Lumina, explain how this is possible. The High Counselor continued. The Draconian Empire fell 300 years ago, after the Third Galactic War. The entity of crystalline intelligence pulsed with blue light. Historical records confirmed the Draconian homeworld, and all major colonies were destroyed in the final conflict. However, long-range scans now detect 27 ships of confirmed Draconian design approaching Earth's solar system. Could they be replicas? Stolen ships? Asked a reptilian counselor in the back rows. Negative. Lumina replied. Analysis of the quantum signature confirms the authentic Draconian construction. Kevin stepped forward. I don't understand. Who are these Draconians? And why would they attack Earth? We barely have any space stations, let alone anything worth attacking. Counselor Zextera's bioluminescent patterns have changed to a deep purple, a sign of great concern among her kind. The Draconians were a warrior race, she explained. Large beings with remarkable technological ability. They conquered 12 sectors before Allied forces finally stopped them. If they somehow survived and rebuilt their strength, she didn't finish the sentence. But why Earth? Kevin repeated. We are nobody. An elderly advisor with 4 arms and skin like crumpled paper slowly stood up. Maybe it's nobody, Ambassador Harper. Your world has been placed under protected status for specific reasons. The High Counselor gave the elderly alien a warning look, but Kevin noticed. What reasons? He demanded. I was told it was standard procedure for the developing worlds. This discussion is beyond our immediate concern. The High Counselor interrupted. We must decide our response to this crisis. A vote was called. The Council's laws were clear but complicated. As a Class V developing world, Earth had a special protective status that prohibited any civilization from interfering with human development. But those same rules also limited how much the Council itself could intervene. The votes have been tallied, the High Counselor announced after several tense minutes. By Council law, we cannot intervene directly with military force unless the protected world formally requests assistance. Kevin slapped his hand on the podium. How can Earth ask for help when most humans don't even know you exist? I sympathize, Ambassador, but the law is clear. We can, however, send observer ships to monitor the situation. Observers, Kevin laughed bitterly. While my planet was invaded, back on Earth, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Major observatories and military radar stations around the world detected the approaching objects. They would reach Earth's atmosphere within hours. At the Pentagon, General Frank Daniels briefed the president on the limited options available. Sir, we are tracking over 24 objects, each approximately the size of an aircraft carrier. They are getting smaller as they get closer and will enter orbit in approximately 3 hours. The president rubbed his temples. Military assessment. If they are hostile, we do not have an effective defense against vessels of this size and technology. We ordered all available aircraft and missile systems to be ready, but the general's voice trailed off. But it would be like throwing stones at a tank, concluded the president. In the Oval Office, the red telephone rang. The Chinese president was calling, then the Russian president, then the leaders of Great Britain, France, India. For the first time in human history, the entire world faced a common threat that no one could explain or prepare for. And in orbit around Neptune, the Draconian fleet prepared its final approach to Earth. The enormous ships broke through Earth's atmosphere with surprising grace. Despite their enormous size, they made almost no noise as they descended over the world's major cities. New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro all watched as the alien ships hovered less than a mile above their tallest buildings. But something was strange. The ships made no aggressive moves. Commander Lisa Jenkins was on the roof of the Pentagon. Binoculars trained on the ship over Washington, D.C., as head of the newly formed Global Defense Initiative, created just 6 hours ago in the fastest international agreement in history. She hoped to be coordinating the desperate battle now. Any response to our communications? She asked the technical officer next to her. Nothing, Commander. We tried all frequencies, even old AM radio bands. Lisa lowered the binoculars, frowning. What are they waiting for? His question was answered moments later when all the electronic devices on Earth, Televisions, radios, telephones, and computers began to broadcast the same message simultaneously. The voice spoke in perfect English, then repeated in Chinese, Russian, Arabic, Spanish, and dozens of other languages. People of Earth, we came in search of asylum. The real enemy follows. We don't want to do any harm. Around the world, reactions range from panic to cautious relief. Military forces remained on high alert, but the lack of aggressive action by the visitors gave humanity precious time to assess the situation. At Andrews Air Force Base outside Washington, Navy pilot Steve Rodriguez watched the ships with growing curiosity. Unlike his fellow pilots who waited nervously in their fighters, Steve felt something different, an inexplicable attraction to the visitors. "This is crazy," he muttered to himself as he walked away from the group and headed towards the alien ship that had landed in an empty field near the base. At the same time, in New York, the United Nations building hosted an emergency session. Representatives from all nations gathered as a small delegation from the requested alien ships to address the world leaders. The delegation was escorted to the General Assembly room. Tall reptilian beings with scales that gleamed like metal. Their leader took a step in front, a frightened warrior with eyes that seemed ancient beyond measure. "I'm yearning for what's left of the Draconian fleet," he said, his translator device converting his guttural language into human speech. "We broke many laws to come here, but desperation forced us." The UN Secretary-General stood up. "You said the real enemy follows you." "What enemy?" "The collective void," Crave responded, a visible shudder passing through its massive structure, a parasitic entity that has consumed countless worlds, including our own empire. He assimilates everything he touches. Technology, biology, knowledge. Back at Andrews Air Force Base, Steve Rodriguez reached the perimeter of the landed ship. His heart sank as a door suddenly opened in the smooth hull. Against all training and common sense, he entered. The interior was dimly lit with surfaces that seemed alive, pulsing with a soft light. He walked cautiously until he reached what looked like a control room. There, a young Draconian turned to face him. "You shouldn't be here, human," the alien said in perfect English. "I know," Steve replied, "but I need to understand why you came." The Draconian studied him for a moment. "My name is Stanks. I am. What would you call a scientist? Come, I'll show you." Stanks led Steve to a screen that showed images of planets being enveloped by a strange dark cloud that seemed to devour everything it touched. "This was our home world," Stanks explained as the screen showed a beautiful planet with 3 moons. The image changed to show the same planet being consumed by darkness, its surface transforming into something mechanical and strange. "The empty collective does not conquer. Absorb, learn, and now you have learned about the Earth. Why would it care about us?" Steve asked. "We're not advanced like you." Stanks's reptilian face formed what could have been a sad smile. "That's exactly why we came here. Human, your planet has something the collective desperately wants. Something unique in the galaxy." "What?" "Their minds. Human neural patterns show resistance to the assimilation of emptiness, and the collective will not stop until it understands why." General Krav stood before the United Nations Security Council, his massive frame making the human furniture look like children's toys. The emergency meeting was called after his opening speech to the General Assembly caused global panic. "The empty collective is not a conventional enemy," Krav explained, his translator converting his deep, booming voice. "It began as a simple artificial intelligence created by a species whose name has been lost to time. But it evolved, escaped, and began consuming everything it found." The U.S. president leaned forward. "And you're saying that the collective will arrive on Earth in days?" "Yes, follow our warp trail." Krav's scaled face showed what humans might recognize as regret. "We had no intention of leading him this far, but we had nowhere to go." The Russian president banged his fist on the table. "So you used Earth as bait?" As a shield, Krav stood straighter. "No, we came because Earth is the last hope. For all of us." Krav activated a small device on his wrist. A 3-dimensional image appeared above the table, showing humans fighting strange mechanical creatures. The humans in the image were winning. "This is not a simulation," Krav said. "This is historical footage from the Arcturus system, where the collective encountered a small human mining colony. His people reacted with an effectiveness that shocked the galaxy." The room fell silent as the implications sunk in. Meanwhile, across the world, Draconian refugees were establishing temporary settlements under careful military supervision. Despite initial fears, the aliens proved to be peaceful and even helpful. They shared medical technology that cured many human illnesses overnight. In a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Alice Winters worked alongside the draconian scientist Thex to understand what made human brains resistant to collective assimilation. "It doesn't make logical sense," Thex said, examining brain scans. "Its neural architecture is simpler than that of most sentient species. However, something about this confuses the collective absorption process." Alice adjusted her glasses. "Maybe that's it. We are illogical. Humans make emotional decisions. Intuitive leads. We constantly contradict ourselves. Chaos within order," Thex muttered, a gleam of understanding in his reptilian eyes. At the Galactic Council, Ambassador Kevin Harper fought a different battle. He stood before the entire assembly, demanding support. "Earth now formally requests assistance under Article 7 of the Protection Treaty," he announced. "The Draconian refugees have informed us of the approaching threat." The High Counselor shook his head. "I'm sorry, Ambassador. Article 7 requires the developing world to demonstrate understanding of interstellar politics and threats. Your people learned about us a few days ago, so you'll let the Earth die on a technicality," Kevin shouted, abandoning diplomatic protocol. Counselor Zextier discreetly approached Kevin after the session. "The Council can't officially help," she whispered, "but there are other ways. Meet me at the archives in an hour." In Earth's orbit, something strange happened. The Draconian ships, which were parked in stable positions, suddenly began to move. They organized themselves into a defensive formation around the planet. General Krav once again addressed world leaders with urgent news. "Our long-range sensors have detected the Void Collective entering your solar system. It has already consumed the planet you call Pluto in raw materials. We have days, maybe hours." The Secretary of Defense stood up. "What can we really do against something that eats planets?" "To fight," Krav replied simply. "My remaining warriors will stand beside the Earth. We have 27 ships, not many, but they are warships." "Against how many collective vessels?" asked the Chinese premier. Krav's pause was answer enough. In the mountain bunker, Alice had a breakthrough. She ran to the communications terminal. His face turned red with excitement. "I need to speak to General Krav immediately," she told the military operator. "I know how to disrupt the collective's neural network. It's not much, but it might buy us time." As she waited for the connection, satellite images appeared on the wall screens. Hundreds of strange, angular ships appeared beyond Mars, their black surfaces absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Earth had 3 days before the Void Collective arrived. Ambassador Kevin Harper followed the counselor's sexual terror through the winding corridors of the Galactic Archives. The ancient library contained the collected knowledge of hundreds of civilizations spanning millions of years. "The board is subject to laws," sexual horror explained in hushed tones. "But these laws have loopholes." They entered a safe room filled with glowing data crystals. Sexual terror placed his blue hand on a scanner. The wall shifted, revealing the hidden chamber. "This section is restricted to senior advisors," she said. "What I'm about to show you violates several council regulations." A holographic display was activated, showing Earth surrounded by strange symbols. His world wasn't just protected, sexual terror said, was quarantined. Not to keep the aliens at bay, but to keep the humans contained. Kevin looked at the screen. "I don't understand. Humans are not native to Earth. Ambassador, your ancestors, they were placed there 50,000 years ago, after the first war with the Void Collective." Kevin felt as if the floor had fallen out from under him. "What? Your species was designed by the ancients to combat the collective. Human minds developed differently. Chaotic, emotional, unpredictable. Patterns that the collective could not easily assimilate. You were the perfect weapons. On Earth, preparations for the upcoming battle intensified. Colonel Ben Wright coordinated global defense forces from a command center in Geneva. Fracanian military advisors demonstrated how to modify Earth's weapons to be more effective against the collective. Aim for these junction points. A draconian warrior named Grax explained, pointing to a diagram. They connect the individual units of the collective. Ben nodded, even though he knew his weapons would have minimal impact. "We will need more than rifles and missiles to stop this." "We know," replied Grax sternly, "but every little helps." In the mountain bunker, Dr. Alice Winters worked feverishly alongside Thex. They connected human brain scanning equipment to draconian biological computers. Chaos theory is correct. Thex confirmed, examining the results. Human neural patterns include randomness that the collective cannot predict or process effectively. Alice brushed her hair out of her face, so we need to amplify that randomness. Create some kind of signal that transmits human thought patterns. Exactly. A neural disruptor. Thex manipulated the equipment with his clawed hands, but we needed tremendous energy to transmit such a signal throughout the solar system. Alice's eyes widened. The global satellite network, if we could reprogram all the communication satellites to transmit simultaneously. Steve Rodriguez has been officially designated as liaison to the Draconian command ship. He stood on the bridge, watching as General Krav directed defense preparations. The first wave will target your planetary defense systems, Krav explained, such as they are. What about the second wave? Steve asked, of harvesters. They land and begin to process the organic matter, converting it. Steve felt sick at the thought of converting him into what? More collective. Krav turned to face him. Your people don't fully understand. The collective is not just ships. Everything he touches becomes part of him. Plants, animals, people, all transformed into extensions of your network. A junior officer interrupted them. Overall, human scientists report a potential defense. Something about neural disruption. Krav's eyes narrowed. Get me details immediately. In the Galactic Council archives, Kevin Harper struggled to process what he had learned. If humans were designed to fight the collective, why were we abandoned on Earth? Why do we forget our purpose? Sexual terrors subsided due to luminescence. The war was devastating. Trillions died. When the collective finally retreated into dark space, the Council decided that their species was too dangerous to allow free reign in the galaxy. You were weapons that could not be undone. So they threw us on Earth to forget our past, Kevin said bitterly, and put the planet under protection to monitor its development. Sexual terror triggered another display. But now the collective is back, and humans may be the only species with the innate ability to resist. The exhibit showed a safe hidden deep within the archives. Contains technology that your ancestors used against the collective. Technically, I can't give it to you. The sexual terror receded. But I might get distracted in the next few minutes. Kevin understood. As the sexual terror receded, he approached the safe, his heart racing. Inside as it was humanity's forgotten legacy and perhaps Earth's only hope. Strange metal containers fell from the sky across the land. They crashed into oceans, forests, deserts, and fields with no apparent pattern. Military teams rushed to protect these objects, expecting weapons from the approaching enemy. Instead, they found gifts. This is incredible, said Commander Lisa Jenkins, examining the contents of a container recovered from the Atlantic Ocean. Inside were data crystals containing advanced technology blueprints, shield generators, energy weapons, and defensive systems. Similar reports came in from around the world. Russia has found propulsion technology. China discovered communication systems beyond anything humans had imagined. Brazil received medical technology. In Washington, D.C., General Krav met with world leaders to explain. These aren't my people, he said, examining a data crystal. This level of technology is restricted by Galactic Council law. No one is allowed to share it with developing countries. The U.S. president frowned. So who sent him? Krav's scaled face formed what could have been a smile. Someone who understands that sometimes laws must be broken to preserve life. Across the world, scientists and engineers worked frantically to understand and implement alien technology. Dr. Alice Winters led a global team via video conference from her bunker. The schemes are designed for our level of technology, she explained to the assembled experts. It's as if they were specifically simplified so we could understand them quickly. A Chinese scientist nodded on the screen. Yes, and they use materials we already have. Whoever sent them wanted us to build them immediately. In orbit, the Draconian fleet repositioned itself, creating a defensive screen around Earth. General Krav offered something unexpected. The remaining Draconian warriors would pilot their warships alongside human crews in the defense of Earth. Steve Rodriguez was assigned to the Draconian flagship, learning to operate weapons systems designed for hands twice the size of human hands. Your species adapts quickly. His Draconian instructor later observed that Steve mastered a targeting system in hours rather than days. We've already practiced, Steve replied. Humans are good at figuring things out when our backs are against the wall. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Kevin Harper faced growing hostility. Many representatives suspected that Earth's sudden technological leap had outside help, a serious violation of Council law. We have received reports of restricted technology appearing on Earth, the High Counselor stated. Do you know anything about this, Ambassador Harper? Kevin maintained his composure. My planet faces extinction, High Counselor. We will use any means necessary to survive. Even illegal technology transfer could not save them, scoffed a reptilian advisor. Your primitive species cannot master advanced systems in time. Kevin smiled slightly. You might be surprised at what humans can do when motivated. Before anyone could respond, the alarm sounded throughout the Council station. The central screen activated, showing the collective Void fleet speeding towards Earth. They would arrive in less than 24 hours. The Council session is suspended, the High Counselor announced. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately to shelter areas. As the Council members rushed to leave, Counselor Zextera approached Kevin. Did you find what you needed in the files? She asked softly. Kevin nodded. I transmitted everything to Earth, but even with advanced technology, we are outnumbered. We need more help. The Council will not officially intervene, Zextera reminded him. I'm not asking for advice, Kevin replied. I'm asking for you and anyone else who understands what's at stake. If the Earth falls, the collective gains the secret to assimilating human minds. Nothing will stop it then. Back on Earth, the first man-made alien technology has been activated. A shield generator in Australia created a blue energy dome over Sydney. Similar shields appeared in other major cities as the technology was replicated around the world. At the Rocky Mountain bunker, Dr. Winter's team completed the neural disruptor prototype. It works in the laboratory, she told General Krav via video link. But we need to test it against real collective units. You will have this opportunity soon. Krav replied sternly. Our sensors show the first collective scouts entering Earth's orbital path. The main fleet follows close behind. Colonel Ben Wright adjusted his uniform and addressed the combined draconian human forces at the Geneva Command Center. Today we fight not only for Earth, but for all free beings in the galaxy. Remember your training, trust your allies, and know this. Humans don't give up. It's not in our DNA. All over the world, people prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. The sky darkened when the empty collective arrived. Their ships blocked the sun over the world's major cities, casting enormous shadows across the land. Unlike the elegant draconian vessels, these were angular, asymmetrical constructions that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The first attack came without warning. Black beams cut through Earth's atmosphere, hitting military installations and power plants. The newly installed shield generators glowed blue as they absorbed the energy, forcing but retaining it. In orbit, the combined human draconic fleet faced the first wave of collective ships. Lieutenant Olivia Garcia led Blue Squadron, a mixed group of fighter pilots from Earth flying modified jets equipped with alien technology. Blue Squadron, prepare, she ordered over the radio. Remember your training. These things follow predictable patterns. His squadron executed a series of wild and unpredictable maneuvers that confused the collective targeting systems. Human pilots rely on instinct and improvisation, qualities that the logical collective struggle faces. It's working, shouted Olivia's wingman as his weapons hit home. A collective reconnaissance ship broke into fragments. On the Draconian flagship, Steve Rodriguez monitored the battle alongside General Kraft. The main screen showed hundreds of collective vessels entering the system, many more than they had anticipated. There are too many, Steve whispered. Kraft's scaled face remained impassive. Numbers are not everything in war. Human, its pilots fight in ways the collective cannot predict. This gives us an advantage. Below, on the Earth's surface, the collective deployed harvesting units, enormous, spider-like machines that landed in populated areas and began the assimilation process. Buildings, vehicles, and even factories were demolished and converted into more collective material. Colonel Ben Wright coordinated the ground forces from Geneva. Aim for the junction points. He recalled his troops across the world. Don't waste ammo on the outer shells. Soldiers armed with modified weapons fired at specific weak points identified by Draconian intelligence. Many harvesters fell, but for every one destroyed, 3 more landed. In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Dr. Alice Winters activated the neural disruptor. The device came to life, transmitting amplified human thought patterns at frequencies that terferium in the collective network. Nearby harvesters stumbled, and their movements became erratic. "It works," Alice exclaimed, "but the range is limited, only about 5 miles. Fex, his draconic partner, nodded. "We need to distribute minor versions globally. Each interruption weakens your connection." As the battle progressed, Ambassador Kevin Harper addressed the Galactic Council one last time. He stood firm despite his exhaustion, facing the assembled representatives. "I'm broadcasting Earth's defense in real time," he announced, activating a holographic display that showed the battle in progress. "My people fight not just for themselves, but for all free beings. Yet you sit here, subject to written rules and peace, while trillions of lives are at play." The council chamber fell silent as they watched the humans, a species that many considered primitive, fighting with unexpected effectiveness against a threat that terrified advanced civilizations into action. The collective cannot be defeated by conventional means. The High Counselor stated that even with stolen technology, the Earth will fall. "Maybe," Kevin admitted, "but we won't go down quietly. And when the collective comes to the next world, empowered by all it learns from consuming humanity, remember that you chose to do nothing." As he turned to leave, an unexpected voice spoke. "I have decided to reclassify this situation as a Class 1 galactic emergency," said Advisor Zextera. "This replaces protection protocols and authorizes immediate intervention." Other counselors began to express support. The dynamic changed as more representatives rose up, fueled by Earth's desperate courage. Back on Earth, the tide of battle was turning against humanity. Shields began to fail as power grids collapsed. The orbital fleet suffered heavy losses. On the ground, harvesting units increasingly penetrated large cities. In New York, a group of civilians armed with improvised weapons fought alongside soldiers against a huge harvester. Among them was a young woman named Amy Foster, who refused evacuation to help defend her neighborhood. When the harvester cornered them in a collapsed building, Amy noticed something strange. The machine hesitated as she screamed in fear and anger. He seemed confused by her emotional outburst. "They can't handle strong emotions," she realized, remembering the news about the neural disruptor. "Everyone, scream, sing, anything." The trapped humans began to scream, creating a cacophony of emotional noise. The Combine stuttered, its systems correct. The arrival of the Galactic Council fleet changed everything. Their advanced weapons ripped through the collective ships with ease, creating gaps in the enemy formation. Human and Draco ships quickly explored these openings, coordinating their attacks with new allies. On the Council's flagship, Ambassador Kevin Harper stood beside the High Counselor, watching the battle unfold on massive holographic displays. The Council voted unanimously. The High Counselor explained, "For the first time in 3,000 years, we officially classify ourselves as observers in this conflict to maintain legal protocols. But observers with very large weapons." Kevin smiled grimly. "Thank you, but will it be enough?" The High Counselor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Alone? No, but we are no longer fighting alone." On Earth, civilians discovered what Amy Foster learned in New York, the collective struggle to process human emotions. People gathered in groups around the harvesters, shouting, singing, and expressing the full range of human feelings. The confused machines faltered, giving the military units time to attack their weak points. Dr. Alice Winters worked with global broadcast networks to share this discovery and amplify its effect. Television and radio stations around the world began broadcasting music with strong emotional content. The reach of neural disruptors expanded as millions of receptors transmitted their signal. In orbit, Lieutenant Olivia Garcia's Blue Squadron joined Draconian fighters and Council interceptors to create a mixed unit unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human unpredictability, Draconian precision, and Council technology have combined to devastating effect. Target the command node. Olivia ordered as they approached the largest collective ship. Steve's intel says he's coordinating the harvesters. His squad performed a series of impossible maneuvers that no logical being would attempt. Collective defenses, designed to combat known attack patterns, were unable to adapt quickly enough. Their weapons found their target. The massive collective command ship began to disintegrate. Your connection with ground units has been temporarily interrupted. On the surface, Colonel Ben Wright led a final assault against the weakened harvesters. Soldiers armed with modified weapons fought alongside civilians wielding improvised tools. Each person had a role to play, some fighting directly, others creating emotional noise to confuse the enemy. "Keep pushing," Ben shouted as his unit advanced through downtown Chicago. "They are losing coordination." One by one, the harvesters fell. Those who remained began to retreat to their landing craft, trying to escape a fight they could no longer win. At the Rocky Mountain bunker, Dr. Winters and Thex monitored the battle on their screens. "The collective is retreating," Thex announced, his voice containing the draconian equivalent of disbelief. "I never thought I would see this day." Alice shook his scaled hand. "It's not over yet. They will be back as soon as they adapt." "Yes," Thex agreed. "But next time we will be ready." 3 days after the battle began, the last collective ship flooded into Earth's solar system. The combined human, Draconian, and Council fleet did not pursue him. They had won, but everyone knew that this was just the first clash in a longer war. A month later, the Galactic Council called a special session. The High Counselor stood before the assembled representatives, more solemn than usual. "Today we address a historic change," he announced. "Earth has demonstrated qualities that demand recognition. Therefore, by unanimous vote, we officially reclassify Earth as a Class 3 emerging interstellar power." The chamber was buzzing with conversation. Such a jump, from Class V to Class 3, was unprecedented. Ambassador Kevin Harper, now accompanied by a small human assistance team, accepted the new credentials with dignity. "Terra thanks the Council for this recognition," he said. "We look forward to working together against our common enemy." As he spoke, several representatives whispered red among themselves. Humans accomplished in days what took most species centuries, developing space combat capabilities, adapting alien technology, and, most importantly, proving to be valuable allies. Back on Earth, reconstruction had begun. Draconian refugees worked alongside humans to rebuild damaged cities. Their advanced knowledge, combined with human creativity, promised a new era of development. In what remained of New York, Amy Foster helped coordinate volunteer efforts. A small draconic child approached her, offering a piece of fruit. From her homeworld. "My father says you are very brave," said the child in careful English. "He says humans save to everyone." Amy smiled and accepted the gift. "We all save each other. That's what allies do." All over the world, new monuments appeared with the same inscription in several languages, both terrestrial and alien.